Hi guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're here back with on hit Zeri. Now first up, at the very beginning of the video, I'm gonna say that obviously I have tested this build, like obviously that's why it's here, but personally after testing it I really don't think that it is very good. The crit build is way better. I think that the best build at the moment is the crit build, followed by Black Cleaver into the crit build, and then the worst build, the worst viable build is like the on hit build. So this is pretty much going to be the on hit build, and I'm going to explain how it works. Honestly, it's not too complicated, but it does suffer from a number of problems. And first up, obviously we're going to go for Black Cleaver. Now Black Cleaver obviously shreds the armor of enemies, and it does so in one auto attack because Zeri has 7 bullets in one auto attack, which means that she procs Black Cleaver instantly. That's like sort of a special interaction, but mainly we're getting Black Cleaver for the stats. So Black Cleaver gives you, of course, the health, the ability haste, and the attack damage, all of which are really good stats at the very beginning. It really isn't so much for the passive. The rage passive, yes, but not really for the armor shred, because when you really think about it, the armor shred, it basically just replaces your armor pen item. Like it replaces your Sereldas, your moral reminder, or your LDR. It really is only effective against like the tanky champions. Like imagine if you're against 1v1 against an ADC, you shred 24% of their armor. Like yeah, you're gonna do extra damage to them, but it's 24%. So if they have like, you know, I don't know how much armor like an average champion has, but let's say they have like, let's say they have 50 armor, you're gonna just shred 12 armor. It's not very significant, but let's say you have a tank who has 200 armor, you're gonna shred like 48 armor, which is a lot more significant. So it's really kind of against tanks, and this build is really good against tanks because you also go for Blade of the Rune King as your second item. Of course, more AD and attack speed. You also of course, do get that drain passive where you will steal people's movement speed and deal percent health damage after 3 attacks, which of course does have a cooldown, so it's not constant. But this also gives you the physical vamp that Zeri loves. So yeah, so of course here we don't actually need to go for the Boots of Fury anymore because we already have the Rage passive on the Black Cleaver. So instead, I put like Gluttonous Greaves there, but in reality you can go for a defensive boots. Defensive boots are probably better because you already have lifesteal from your runes as well as from the Blade of the Rune King itself. So probably just some defensive boots with either QSS or Stasis. And then we go into Runan's Hurricane. So Runan's Hurricane, as we mentioned in the complete guide, which of course, if you guys have not seen it yet, go take a look at the complete guide for the skills, the leveling order, and like the crit build as well. So we have the only crit item in here, but we're not getting it for the crit. So we're getting it for the passive, which is the Wind's Fury, which allows you to attack 3 people at the same time. And those 3 attacks will proc the rest of your items, like your Blade of the Rune King, like your Black Cleaver, or like your Wit's End. And basically this is just to give Zeri some AoE damage, which is going to be very helpful in just terms of your DPS. If you just get a lucky crit, that's really great as well. And then after that we go for the Wit's End. Now Wit's End again gives you attack speed, gives you MR. MR could be huge in certain matches, and you also get the on hit magic damage, which again, you know, on hit, so it procs only once, doesn't proc 7 times. That would be way too OP, but it also procs with Runan's Hurricane, and it also gives you healing when you're below 50% health. So again, another source of healing. And then I like to wrap it up with, of course, a GA. And when your GA is down, you can get, you know, any other kind of defensive items, maybe like an actual full tank item, maybe like a Death's Dance, or maybe just, you know, some other you know, just AD item in general. The build's kind of done by the time you reach Wits End anyways, and I like having the revive of the GA. So now the main problem with this build is simply the fact that you have way too much attack speed, because as you guys know, Zeri can only reach up to 1.5% attack speed, or 1.5 attacks per second, as it states in her passive on her Q. But basically we have Blade of the Rune King for the attack speed, and also we have Wit's End as well as Runan's Hurricane for attack speed. So by the time you reach Runan's Hurricane and Blade of the Rune King combined, you already will have exceeded the attack speed. So all of the attack speed from Wit's End is going to be converted to AD, but any like kind of passive that involves conversion, like Yone's or Yasuo's over crit passive, the conversion is never good because they don't really want to encourage you stacking too much of one stat. So the conversion is nice, but it isn't very good. So this is kind of the one of the big drawbacks of this build, but this build I would say is really good against tanky teams because of the Black Cleaver Blade of the Rune King combo, and yeah, it's just really strong against tanky teams. So for the runes, we go for Conqueror because there's no point going for Lethal Temple since we already have so much attack speed. The Conqueror gives you what you really want, which is AD. So you get AD from Black Cleaver and Blade of the Rune King, but not too much. And then Wit's End and Runan's Hurricane doesn't give you AD. So the Conqueror will give you the AD and also a little bit of additional Omnivamp. And then we don't really need any more lifesteal, so we don't need Hunter Vampirism. So we're going for Brutal instead for more on-hit damage. And then of course we go for our Bone Plating, but you could also go for Nullifying Orb or Hunter Titan if you prefer. And finally, we wrap it up with a Hunter Genius to, of course, have a little bit more ability haste. And finally, for the spells, you go for Flash Exhaust or Flash Ghost. For explanations why, again, refer to the complete guide. But with all that out the way, let's jump straight into the gameplay itself. Okay, so here we have the gameplay itself, and first things first, I think it's pretty obvious that if you guys take a look at the bottom left, I'm taking Kraken Slayer and not Conqueror. Now, I've tested both Kraken Slayer and Conqueror with this build, and overall I found that I just like Conqueror more. Like, Kraken Slayer is good and your early game is a little bit better. However, Conqueror is just more consistent and it's better in the late game because you don't build a lot of AD anyway, so it doesn't scale very well. Like, Kraken Slayer doesn't scale very well, so Conqueror in my opinion is better. Now, this particular enemy team isn't really like tanky in any way, shape or form. Like, the tankiest character is Gwen, who isn't even any kind of a tank. She's just tanky because she's a fighter, but again, this is kind of the phase where I was testing Zeri's builds and seeing what was good and what was not. This gameplay and the AP gameplay that you guys saw a couple of days ago actually happened like right on the first 3 days of Zeri's release, but I wanted to do a complete guide before I do like supplementary guides on her like worser builds. Like, wouldn't really make sense for me to go over the on-hit build and the AP build when I don't actually think that they're good. It makes a lot more sense to, of course, go over the crit build first, which is the one I actually do think is good. At least that's my opinion. I don't really see any sense in sort of explaining like the worser builds first. So I always go for the best build first, and then I'll cover the worser builds afterwards. So anyways, here, nothing too much is happening in lane right against an MF and as well as a Lux. And this is kind of a scary lane to go against because MF does pretty good damage in the early game, and Lux, with the poke and with the snares, also does really well. But anyways, here we have Kayn coming in for the engage. Evelyn flashes in for the counter gank. And here we're trying to get the kill onto Lux, but Lux manages to escape. And here Kayn is going in onto Evelyn, and we do secure that kill. We also managed to chase down MF for another kill, so overall it's a 1-for-2 trade. Overall, I think that this trade was pretty favorable in terms of course, we got 2 kills when they got 1, and they also pretty much burned all of their sums. The bot lane burned all their sums except the ignite on Lux, and Evelyn also had to burn her flash, whereas I still have my flash. So overall, out of all 6 of us, everyone's sums are down except my flash and Lux's ignite. So we won out in summoner spells, and we also won out in simply the fact that we got the kill. So overall, that was a really good trade, and I also get the red buff off of Evelyn, which is gonna help me, farm a little bit easier, and also just help me in lane when I am just poking the enemy bot lane. or rather in this match is the top lane, but you guys know what I mean. So here again we are Zeri, so just friendly reminder, Zeri sucks early game, so you don't really want to do anything aggressive, and you want to just stay back and just pretty much farm. Now the only time you can really play aggressive on Zeri in the early game is if you have like a tank engager that I've played recently, like with a Leona, and when Leona engages, Leona's like damage carries the fight. Like Leona's passive and CC just carries the fight, and you can actually fight early game in certain circumstances, but in general you do just simply want to avoid fighting early game. Here MF already pops the ulti to kind of just chunk out the Karma. Obviously there is no real kill threat there. Karma is under tower and the root only lasts for that long. In fact, after a fruit, Karma is basically back to being healthy, so no big deal here. So here Karma eats a bunch of poke again, gets exhausted. However, she does get out the ulti, and this allows me to ult and actually chase MF down. I tank a Lux ult, but not too important. Here I exhaust Lux for the slow, but I don't really have enough damage to take her down. I almost actually kill her. Here I dash forward to get in another auto attack and try to prevent her from getting from the fruit. Here again I'm zoning her away from the fruit. You can see that Evelyn is actually in the bot lane. Almost died to like Darius, so we know that she's not gonna come over and just kill us. So we have free reign to just zone her away from her fruit right there. Shouldn't be too big of an issue, and with that out the way we can pick up Black Cleaver as well as pick up some boots. Okay, so not much happening here. We're just gonna hit back to the lane, and my team is pretty much doing fine all across the board. Of course, we are doing pretty well, 2-0-1 at the moment in early game. Now, if you have like kills in the early game as Zeri, that is absolutely amazing, because that puts you in the position to carry your team. Here Karma, for no good reason, just walks all the way in there. And just, I don't know what she was doing there. She ults them, uses everything, and has to flash and heal to escape. Obviously the minion wave was pushing in onto us, so we do need to clear that minion wave and not just randomly chase. Regardless, Kayn is here and forces Lux's flash, so it's not exactly, you know, we kind of salvaged the situation there with Kayn getting Lux's flash. Now here the Dragon and Herald have of course spawned a couple of seconds ago, and here I'm just trying my best to clear out the wave. So that I can of course rotate to Herald and Dragon. Here I have one cannon minion left, quickly just bursting down this cannon, and here just popping the fruit to make sure I'm as healthy as possible. The MF and Lux are kind of hiding in the tri-bush, and nothing really happens. No one really starts the Herald, so here I'm just using my W to interrupt MS recall. If you're a Zeri, you pretty much just want to use your W to interrupt recalls whenever an opportunity arises, and because of that, MF has to come back to the lane. Otherwise, she's going to lose too many minions, and here Karma basically uses her mantra Q to steal my whole wave except for one minion. Pretty sad days. Anyways, here basically Kayn has gone over to start ganking mid, and Evelyn is pretty much just doing the same, just pretty much somewhere in the jungle, either going for a gank or maybe she's doing the Herald. No, she is not, because we can see Darius is over there. Evelyn is actually in our jungle trying to chase down the Kayn deep into enemy territory, and up here we're pretty much just, you know, just trading in lane, doing nothing much. And Kayn eventually manages to kill the Evelyn with the help of the Darius. And of course this should by right transition into an objective, but that's kind of not really happening here. They're just kind of pushing in the mid lane, and not too much we can do over here in the top lane. We're just farming pretty much. No real fight happening in the top lane at all, because obviously as Zeri we don't really want to fight. Here Karma gets in the ulti, which is a really nice ulti, and then a root. So here I'm going in finally with my ulti, and I do finish off the Lux. And MF of course does manage to escape. Here just doing a little bit of extra damage to the MF, but obviously we can't kill her when she's like full health and under tower. Not too much we can do here. So I'm just gonna push in the wave, and finally a fight kind of breaks out at the Herald area in the bot lane. So it took a long time for a fight to actually come over an objective, but it finally came, and Evelyn secures the Rift Herald, which at this point does matter, but we don't actually have any tower planes anymore, so it's not, you know, the end of the world. Either way, she pops the Herald. There's no tower there anymore, so I'm not quite sure what she's going for. I believe they did manage to already secure that tower. So I'm not quite sure what they're going for here, but I think that she just wasted the Herald. Anyways, here, honestly, I'm supposed to be talking about unhit Zeri, but there really isn't a lot to talk about. Like, nothing is happening this match at all. It's a really, really boring match where we're just in lane farming. Like, yeah, we did get 3 kills, like, off of, like, Kane's ganks and, like, Karma's engages, but really, all we really did there is just follow up. We didn't really do anything special here that we need to really talk about. Evelyn just randomly smites that skull as me and Karma were doing it for the longest time, which is really sad. Here again, I'm just back in lane, just back to farming, back to clearing wave, and really, it's kind of just really not unexciting, that's not a word. It's kind of just really a boring match for me at the very least so far. I mean, I'm 3-0-1. It's a boring match, but I have 6k goal, so I am doing pretty well for myself. Not the most goal in the game by any means, but just decent in general. Here I'm going forward with the ulti because it looks like a fight is happening here, but in the end nothing too much is happening. I exhaust the Evelyn, which actually saves the Darius at least momentarily before he dies to the Zoe bubble. Karma slinkers away at 1 HP and I'm really low as well. Akali manages to secure a kill onto Evelyn, but she's deep into enemy territory. Eventually does manage to escape through bot lane. Zoe is on the chase but runs into Kane, and Kane is hopefully finishing off the kill against Zoe. He does. And yeah, so finally a little bit of action happening, but even so we didn't really do all that much. Here of course we're paying to go for the dragon. You know, the dragon has been on the map for like nearly 5 minutes, which makes no real sense when you think about it. Anyways, here Kane again going for a gank onto the Lux. Lux flashes from bush to bush and does manage to escape because of that. So here we're just going to get priority in the top lane, push in the minion wave, and rotate over to the dragon. So now here we have our Black Cleaver and our Blade of the Rune King. So we are decently strong at the moment. Again, Zeri is only really strong when you hit 3 items. Here we're just going to clear the wards with our auto attacks, which we do. And yeah, she's really strong when she hits 3 items, but here at 2 items, not so bad. Evelyn just walks straight in and steals the dragon because Arcane cannot smite. Anyways, here we ult, get the kill onto the Evelyn, and here the Gwen hops in, but she's not going to escape. We finish her off with the Q, and then we flash over to get the kill onto the Zeri. Unfortunately, Zeri ports away and hits me with the bubble. So unfortunately, Akali is the one who secures the kill, not me. But overall, it's a pretty successful team fight. 4 people did 4-for-1 trade, but the enemy team did get the dragon after like 10 minutes into the match. It finally secures the first dragon. And yeah, so overall, you know, we got more kills and we can start getting more items. So it's not the worst in the world that we didn't manage to secure the dragon. Okay, so here we're just gonna go head on over and just farm the bot side jungle. A lot of people are on top side already, so here we can farm the bot side jungle, we can farm the bot lane wave, you know, etc. A lot of farm to be had on this side of the map, but of course we do need our team to cooperate and not just randomly go into a fight without us. Hopefully that will happen though. In this particular match, I went for the boots of the Nerk Treads, the Tenacity boots, because there's a lot of CC in the form of like Zoe Bubble and Lux Binding, Evelyn Charm, etc. And also there is 3 AP champions, basically everyone aside from MF. Here, we're doing the Herald over the wall because we collided it into the wall, and this is a small kind of trick you can do. I end up actually hitting the eye and picking up the Herald, which is, you know, pretty interesting. Generally, it's better to give the jungler the Herald because they can freely rotate around the map to put down the Herald. But of course, you do get like the tower goal if you are the one who uses the Herald, so it's not too bad. Here looks like a fight is breaking out in the river, but I don't really think I'm gonna make it there in time. Zoe hops the wall and Evelyn and Zoe just both die before I even reach there, as I suspected. But now we do have 2 members of the enemy team down and we have a Herald, so we wanna maybe just push in the mid lane. Unfortunately, 1 minion escaped me and made it all the way back to stop my wave. Death timers are not the longest on Evelyn and Zoe at the current moment, so we're trying to, you know, do what we can to get the wave in, but unfortunately the rest of the team is already there. Here we're trying to see if we can get a pick onto Miss Fortune. Kayn is kind of on the chase. Managed to remove Miss Fortune's Edge of Night using my W, but in the end nothing too much happens. I'm going to just use the Herald Empowered Recall. Allows me to get back to base faster. And here in this match, instead of going for the Runan's Hurricane as my third item, I actually go for the Wit's End as my third item instead. And the main reason I do that is because Wit's End has a lot of value in this game. We have of course, the 4 AP champions on the enemy team, so having that extra magic resist from the Wit's End is going to be really helpful in this particular game, which is why I choose to swap my Runa's Hurricane to later on, which I think for this particular game makes a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately though, my team kind of get caught out in the bottom side. Pretty much everybody gets caught in the bottom side. Here is kind of a stupid play by me. I'm going in like pretty much 1v4. Although I do have all my mobility, I still have my exhaust, my flash, and my ult, everything. So here, I'm hopping over to the other side of the fight and just blasting wherever I can. Now, I don't actually die here, but there wasn't really a point of me doing this, which is why I say it's kind of a bad play, because the enemy team is not low enough for me to just clean up multiple members and get multiple kills. So in reality, I should just have stayed away from that area entirely and just not done anything, because all that I've done here is basically I've gotten my Darius killed, I've blown my flash, and nothing has really happened aside from that. So yeah, that was not a good decision by me. Anyways, we're just gonna pick up the bottom lane wave, clear out this control ward, and pick up the Krugs. Again, as an ADC, you want to have as much gold as possible, so you want to get your gold from wherever you can, including the jungle. And here we're just gonna farm up the next bottom lane wave as well. We don't have vision on the enemy, but I do have Kayn and Karma in the area, so I'm not really scared of like moving forward to farm. Here I pop the Herald, mainly as a distraction for the dragon, because here dragon is coming up. So my idea was I pop the Herald here, force the enemy team to respawn, and in the meantime we take the dragon. So here I can see I'm furiously pinging for the dragon, and Kayn and Karma are listening, and we are on the way toward the dragon. As you can see, the plan is kind of working because Gwen is there defending the Rift Herald, and Rift Herald doesn't get a charge, but in this case it has played its role. Here you can see I'm immediately rushing the dragon because because Gwen does need time to rotate over. So this, if goes according to plan, should be a odd numbers team fight in our favor, and we should be able to secure the dragon, which in the end we do manage to indeed secure the dragon. You guys can see Gwen only just reached the scene. I get hit by a Lux Binding and QSS basically when the binding is almost over, so kind of again, I'm not really used to using QSS. I'm not really the best QSS user because I'm really used to using Stasis, and I kind of forgot I had QSS until the very last millisecond when it basically wouldn't have mattered whether I used it or not. But here we're just gonna try to take down this tower together with the Karma, and we do, I believe, manage to take down the tower. There we go, we do get that enemy tower, and we're gonna hop over here and take the enemy raptors. So here we are at 3 items. We have the Wit's End completed, which makes us really significantly more tanky. The health from the Black Cleaver plus the MR from the Wit's End means that it should be really difficult to kill us in this particular match. I am 5-0 and 5, yet to die. As long as I don't do any more stupid plays like what I did just now, I should be fine. Right, so here I have enough gold for the entire Runan's Hurricane. Now at 4 items. At this point of the game, I should be I am really strong. So all that we really got to do is group with our team, find a good team fight, and end the game or get Baron or something like that. Here I'm just still farming because I'm not full build yet, so just pick up the farm wherever you can. Here Zoe kind of gets caught out by Kayn. They trade flash for flash basically, and here Kayn is deep into enemy territory. Here I'm trying to reach. Here I go in with the flash. I unfortunately do get exhausted, and unfortunately because of the exhaust I'm not able to finish the kill on the MF. I think that could have gone way better if I didn't get exhausted. I would have gotten the kill on MF and the reset, and it would have all gone a lot differently. But either way, my team manages to clean up the rest of the fight, and only 2 members on the enemy team are left alive. Darius is pushing in the top lane. Kayn is going to clear bot, and Karma is pushing mid. MF is trying to stop the Darius, but Darius manages to get the Demolish proc before he actually simply walks away. Clearing the control ward on his way out as well. MF cannot really do anything much to him. For him to actually die, he has to be hit like by a full Lux combo plus like a significant amount of MF damage, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing much they can really do to him. So here Akali is here to back him up. He manages to steal the enemy red buff, slows the MF, and forces her flash, which is, you know, really pretty amazing. MF pretty much no flash anymore. Really weak. Really vulnerable, I guess you could say. Here Akali nearly gets hit by a binding, but the speed up from Lux allows her to escape. And here I'm paying my team not to fight so that I can push in this mid lane wave. Kayn is pushing in bot, and we pretty much got the enemy team split up around everywhere. I don't have vision of most of the enemy teams, so I'm kind of just trying to back off. Here I can see that a fight is kind of breaking out in the top lane, and I'm trying to make my way over there. So here I'm going through this whole wall, and I come in with the ulti, manage to get the kill onto the Evelynn. Lux tries to run away, but with Zeri's movement speed we can easily catch up. This leaves MF and Evelynn to... Actually Evelynn is dead, so this leaves MF and Gwen to run away. I'm not really sure if Gwen was even there. Here we're just waiting to get the tower. So yeah, 7-1 and 7 doesn't look like we did the most in this whole game, but we actually did. You know, we did do damage and kill people. 14 people involved for that matter. And here we're just gonna basically play around waves and just try to push. So here we have like pretty much all our waves in. MF uses the ult to clear the wave here, so we're just gonna go down the bomb site and try to get that. So now MF and Gwen are responding to the bomb site, so we're now just going to rotate over to the mid and the top side and try to do that instead. Now unfortunately though, our waves are not synced, so it's a little bit difficult to kind of do that, so we're just going to back off. We're going to just secure the wolves, and then we're just going to go for the enemy blue buff. Now, unfortunately, yet again, Evelynn just comes over and smites the blue buff, which is the second time this happened this game. The first time was on the skull, and it's of course really frustrating, but yeah, not too much we can do. So anyways, here we're going to go back mainly to restore mana and pick up our Bloodthirster. Now I did build Bloodthirster in this build previously before GA, but now I kind of think that GA is kind of like better in a way, because having that guaranteed revive and extra armor just kind of makes sense. And we already have so many forms of lifesteal, like from the Borg and from the Wit's End, so I don't really think the Bloodthirster is necessarily needed, but it gives you more crit, more AD and the lifesteal, so it's still not a bad item. I just don't really think it's fully necessary. So now enemy team is all around with like pretty low health bars. My ult has already kind of run out, but we spot an opportunity to go in, kill the Evelynn. I flash over the wall, trying to get the Gwen, try to snipe down the Gwen. I actually managed to snipe the Lux for the slow, and I thought Darius could finish the kill there, which is why I turned back around onto the Gwen, but unfortunately he got slept by the Zoe, and because of that, actually Lux still managed to die. I'm not sure how, but I don't think it was the Darius. Probably some kind of dot or something like that. Anyways, here we finish off the rest of the kills, and we can turn onto the Elder Dragon. Now Kayn is dead. Only Zoe and MF are left alive, so they are busy clearing out that bot lane wave, or at least Zoe is. We don't really know where MF is, but if she turns out, we can simply just turn onto her, and there she is indeed. She turns out with the ulti. Here I end up taking a lot more damage from the ulti than I expected, and because of that I get really chunked out. MF flashes the Karma ult and does manage to get the kill onto me, but we do get the Elder Dragon. Now I should have in hindsight QS test the slow from Sylva's Grudge and just ran, but I was not expecting her to flash, so that was kind of my bad. Anyways, Darius manages to finish off the kill onto her. Evelynn tries to go in on Darius, but Darius does of course have the Elder buff. Fortunately does not get Evelynn to the threshold. Evelynn escapes using her ultimate. And yeah, we do have Elder buff on everybody, so this should be a pretty simple affair of just pushing in and like either getting a fight or just zoning the whole enemy team away in general. But yeah, so here Darius just clearing out the wave, my team just pushing in mid, and we already have the inhibitor in bot. Now we have the inhibitor in mid as well. When we don't actually have the inhibitor in mid, we're about to get the inhibitor in mid, or already. So here, my team Akali just pretty much goes in and goes ham. Minions pick up the inhibitor in mid. Akali again another kill. I've respawned, I'm making my way down, but at this point in time, my team doesn't actually need my help anymore, and we are going to be able to pick up the victory with the on-hit Zeri. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. You guys will see that, we did do decent in this match. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.